Well, I'm not sure the exact details, Steve, but my understanding is that he's agreed to provide documents and to come and testify in front of the full committee in open session in September. Today we have a hearing on the Foreign Agent Registration Act, which Manafort, he failed to comply with when he didn't disclose that he'd received $17 million for working for a pro-Kremlin Ukrainian leader a number of years ago. And what I think we are expecting in September is a broader and fuller conversation, not just about that registration, but about the meeting in Trump Tower last summer in June of 2016 that Paul Manafort and Donald Trump Jr. and Jared Kushner participated in with a cast of Russians and Russian-affiliated people. That's my understanding, is that he'd received, I think, $17 million over a number of years, 2012 to 2014, from a foreign power, from the Party of Regions in Ukraine, and that he'd failed to register that while he was also doing work in the United States. It's a law that goes back to the pre-World War II era and requires anyone who is representing a foreign government or a foreign party and receiving payment for that to register, so that the United States can know on whose behalf people are speaking when they're lobbying here in Washington. One of the issues that's been focused on is that the Republican Party platform and its position on Ukraine changed in the course of their convention, partly at the behest of Paul Manafort and folks representing the Trump campaign. And so there's a concern about the linkage there. And the other thing, Steve, that has been proffered as the reason for that meeting in Trump Tower was, quote unquote, adoption. Sometimes when folks say they're meeting for one topic, it's really another. Adoptions were cut off between Russia and the United States as Vladimir Putin's response to sanctions that were imposed. Sanctions that were imposed as a result of the brutal killing of Sergei Magnitsky's individuals in the Putin government who were responsible for that and a number of other human rights violations. Kushner's testimony answered some questions, but it raised even more. We have not had him in front of the Judiciary Committee. He testified in front of the Intelligence Committee. And in my view, there's still a great deal of unanswered questions, such as the ones I just raised about Paul Manafort, who was Donald Trump's campaign manager in the middle of 2016. The important thing here is that Bob Mueller continues as the special counsel to have the resources and the opportunity to fully and thoroughly investigate issues arising from these allegations of collusion between the Russian government and the Trump campaign, and that the president not take inappropriate steps to remove him or to threaten him or to constrain his ability to operate. I think we here in the Senate need to be mindful of the ongoing investigation that Bob Mueller's leading, and whatever questions we ask, whether it's of Jared Kushner or others, has to not interfere with Bob Mueller's investigation. Well, I don't know whether there was intentional collusion between the highest levels of the Trump campaign and the president himself and folks from Russia who were trying to help swing the election his way. But there is a really disturbing pattern by a whole series of very senior Trump campaign officials and Trump family members of failing to disclose meetings, whether with the Russian ambassador, with Russian interests, or with folks seeking to hand to them information about Hillary Clinton. That's concerning, and President Trump's ongoing pattern of seeming to lean towards Russia and to say things, both as a candidate and now as president, and to do things that seem to move the United States in the direction of Russia's priorities and interests rather than our own. And I think, Steve, you've seen a striking response by Congress. By an overwhelming margin, first the Senate and yesterday the House have now passed tougher Russia sanctions. And the next step in this drama is that the president's going to have to decide whether or not to sign a tougher Russia sanctions bill.